That should burn rubber, though, when it's pulling back, right? Well, President Obama might think the country is headed in the right direction, but most Americans don't agree. A new Rasmussen poll is showing that only 28% of Americans think the country is headed in the right direction. Let's bring in Bernard Whitman, former advisor to President Clinton. This is the thing that bothers me a lot about this whole thing. You know, we had this whole deaf ear thing, but it's starting to become insulting when the president goes out there and he takes these victory laps and these bows for fixing the economy.
I don't think that the president is taking a victory lap at all, and I really don't think that this is news. We have not had a majority of people thinking this country is headed in the right direction in a number of years. And it's not headed in the right direction yet.
But
unemployment's too high, the Dow's too low, the economy's too weak. But, Charles, that does not mean that we should go back to the failed Bush economic policies of
We're not talking about Bush right now.
Tax cuts to the rich, which leads to anemic economic growth.
You don't just
switch gears because we haven't gone far enough.
This president's approval ratings were through the roof. People had so much hope, so much vigor. The country was alive. Even a lot of Republicans were saying he might pull it off. The fact of the matter is that he hasn't pulled it off, but here's the scary part. He doesn't want to change anything. In other words, you guys don't know what you're talking about. My way is right. It just hasn't evolved yet. You just don't see it yet.
That's patently false. Here's what he wants to change. He wants to get a small business bill through Congress. This Republican Congress will not allow him to do that, provide tax cuts to small businesses.
Should that have been the first thing he did when he came into office, the small business thing? Should that have been number one?
2 years we're talking about today.
No, but should that have been number one?
Should he have focused on the economy before he took on health care? I don't think that if he had not taken on health care in year one, I don't think we would have.
But what's more important?
That's not a good reason. That was a winner. That worked out really well. Everything has been a colossal failure so far, and I'm not sure why you people can't understand that. We are broke as a country. We're broke at home. We don't have jobs coming down the pipeline. We have small businesses shutting their doors, and they're not looking to hire anytime soon. So you think, you possibly, in your little head, think that all this money we spent is one day going to kick in and everything's going to be fine.
You know what? It already has, and I'll tell you where. In the auto bailout, the majority of the American people were against it. Nobody thought the money would be repaid. What happened?
GM laid off 100,000 people. That
GM
worked well, too.
posted a $1.3 billion profit in the second quarter. It's the first time in 6 years. They're adding jobs for the first time in a decade. And the auto industry is pulling out. They just announced an IPO. No one thought that would work, and it has.
That is the thing I'm talking about. The victory laps on hollow victories. They still owe the American public $50 billion, so that's a little premature to talk about that.
Well, Bernie, I mean, exactly. I mean, these victory laps, you saw just a month ago, Obama went to Nevada, state with the highest unemployment in the country, and campaigned for Harry Reid. On what? On his victory on unemployment. It's absolutely absurd and tone deaf. And I'm so glad to meet one of these 28% of people who are optimistic about the future of the country in the flesh. Maybe you can explain to me where this optimism comes from.
Don't misunderstand the American people. The American people are fundamentally optimistic. We are not headed in the right direction yet. We are going to turn this around. And actually, I fault the president the most, not for his economic policies, but his failure to properly set expectations and properly communicate the progress to the American people.
This president
is an extraordinary retail politician, and if I were David Axelrod, I'd take him from Martha's Vineyard out across this country. I would not have him spend another day in Washington before the November election.
He doesn't know a thing about
another day in Washington or another day in Martha's Vineyard.
Or another day in
the guy deserves a few days in Martha's Vineyard, but after that he should go directly. He should go directly out across the country, out on the hustings, because this guy is a great retail politician. You keep him in the Rose Garden, you keep him in the White House.
He's a great politician. You're right. He's a great politician. All right. Now I disagree with you in one regard. Let's put up that poll again, just the wording on that. I don't know what this poll means. The Rasmussen poll says, is the U.S. headed in the right direction? Is this with the economy? Is this with foreign policy? Can you please be a little more specific with this poll? Because 28% say yes. 10 years ago and 10 years from now, 28% are going to say yes. I think Americans are inherently pessimistic, not optimistic.
No, that's not true.
We always see something wrong, and we're always going to say, no, we're not heading in the right direction because I don't like this, or I'm going to bitch about this, or I'm going to moan about this. This is the way I see things right now. Maybe it's because I'm working here, but that's the way I see it.
Look, I fundamentally believe that the American people are an optimistic group, but it is absolutely clear we are not there yet. We've got a lot more work to do. Turning this Congress over to the Republicans would set us back 2 years in 2008. How are you doing in 2008?
Oh, I tell you what, we were doing great in
How are you doing-
2005,
how are you
2007,
doing under Bill
2003,
Clinton?
2004. We
Let me
did
tell you something.
fantastic.
Let me tell you something.
But this is not the point. Here's the main point that I would like to understand. You want to set the president across the country. Great. He's a great talker. He's a great politician. But what kind of game plan is he going to institute? Because the one that's in place now isn't working.
Well, I would start with targeted tax cuts to families making under $250,000. Why do we need to give tax cuts to people making $10 million?
Because they
don't
work
need
hard and they deserve to keep their own money.
So do people that are making
Who are you to say I have to
$55,000?
give it back?
So do people,
So tax
because
cuts across
those
the
people
board.
who are making $55,000, $85,000,
But they work harder than us?
No, but they need it more.
Why?
But Bernie,
right.
Bernie, here's the only argument you need to hear. Obama's a great talker, but it didn't work for Martha Coakley, it didn't work for Creed Eads, and it didn't work for John Corzine.
Etsy Cup has the last word. You don't have a little head, tiny head. You just have a new haircut. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Okay.